Hello, everybody. I'm glad you could join us for episode number 33 of the Launch and Beyond podcast, a podcast designed to support you not only achieving great success in your business, but in all other areas of life as well. When we think of the journey of life and business, there's no question that we require strength of character, strength of conviction, and the strength to negotiate the obstacles and challenges that come our way. But what about physical strength? How important is that to your success? And what are some of the learnings going through in lifestyle and discipline of lifting heavy weights that when applied can support you to gain an even greater level of success and personal fulfillment in your life? Our podcast guest this week has not only been able to integrate these principles into her own life with the practical application of building strength through its physical pursuit, but also build a thriving business around this. Amanda Brown is an Australian powerlifting athlete, as well as the founder and director of Queen of Lean, a 350 square metre facility in North Melbourne here in Australia, focusing on an all-female community of members. Not only is she an athlete herself, having broken the national deadlifting record of 185.5 kilos in the 58 kilogram weight class in March 2016. I'm going to say that again because that's impressive even as an intro. 185.5 kilograms in the 58 kilogram weight class. And if Adam and I weren't feeling intimidated, just hearing that already, just taking it to the next level. Amanda has also coached numerous athletes along the way by helping them achieve their dream of competing in fitness competition. With an awesome team of 6 trainers, they've been able to build an all-female community from the ground up. Amanda specializes in creating outstanding female transformations by empowering her clients to strive to be their best. Her motto, stay strong, believe in yourself, and chase your dreams. In this week's podcast episode titled, Do You Even Lift? We talk to Amanda about her journey and how a lifestyle built around building physical strength, power, and expressing and celebrating femininity has helped her build a brand in such a strong and powerful way. We hope you enjoy it. Adam, I am so excited to welcome Amanda onto our program this week. As I said in our intro, we are in the presence of a very strong female here who will intimidate us just by virtue of her physical strength. But having known Amanda in the time that I have, she brings this wonderful balance of strength and femininity, which I think is going to endear it to a lot of our podcast episodes. So Amanda, welcome. Great to have you on our podcast this week.
Thank you. That was quite the intro. I was like, who is this girl? I want to meet her.
well, people, okay, we'll meet you very shortly. What Adam and I do is very quickly when we start our podcast, we just check in with each other. And we'd love to extend that opportunity to you before we officially get started. So is it okay if I check in with Adam, check in how he's been, and then we'll come back to you? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good morning, Adam. How are you tracking?
Yeah, really good today. How's everything been with you?
I'm feeling really good. We were talking just before we got on the episode. I was up early having a coach session, coaching someone this morning. So I haven't actually trained yet. It's still relatively early here in Melbourne. And so if there's this abundance of energy coming through, it's because I haven't physically depleted myself, which I normally have by this time. So I'm jumping out of my skin and also as excited about having Amanda on the program as well. How are you tracking?
Yeah, I've been good. Back on 75 hard this week. So day 6, already done my morning workout. So I'm in a different situation, a bit more calm, a bit more relaxed than Jim. I can see he's beaming and smiling ear to ear. But yeah, just getting back into the routine. Gyms are closed still in Melbourne for a little while. So just been doing double cardios every day. And my legs and joints are very physically exhausted. So getting the Radox in the shower and, I found this Radox shower gel, which I've never seen before. So rubbing that into the sore muscles and trying to rehydrate as quickly as possible. So this week's been a really physical journey for me. And it's awesome that it's aligned with Amanda being on the podcast because, I'm physically feeling what it feels like to elevate yourself to that next level again. And, just learning about the recoveries in my body again seems awesome.
Yeah. Well, as you said, it's a perfect segue in having Amanda on the program. So Amanda, how about you? What are some of the wins or challenges you've had this week that you'd be happy to share with our listeners?
Wins this week. Well, I've been really lucky because I've been able to set up a gym in my garage. So I've had access to that. So it's been a really good training week. I think probably the challenges at the moment, like being in COVID-19 is kind of the groundhog of it. And I think probably the biggest thing that I have struggled with is just looking for that next inspiration within your business when you're running a business not in the way that you predicted running it. So
Yeah.
it's just trying, like I, never really wanted an online business, but I have an online business right now at the moment. And it's just kind of, it's navigating that and I guess looking for the inspiration. I'm also a person that really feeds off the energy of my team, and we love sort of brainstorming and coming up with ideas, and not having them around all the time. Like I find that challenging. Like we still have team meetings and things like that, and it's business as usual, but in a very different circumstance. So but I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have a business that's still running. I'm grateful to have moved to an area where I'm out in Mount Daniel now, and it's a beautiful environment. And so, in terms of ISO life, it's a pretty good situation.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, welcome officially onto the podcast episode. Just by way of background, so people will see how we all fit in this context. I mentioned at the start of the podcast, you run a gym that here in North Melbourne. Here in Melbourne, my wife Bettina is one of your clients and has been for a while. And what I wanted to share was Bettina loved your branding. So way before she was even a client of your gym, she saw your branding, social media, went, wow, this is awesome. I've just got to go and meet this person and just find out about how they go about that. And in the process of coming and meeting you, and it's specifically tailored, as I said, to female athletes and females, your community, she was drawn to that. So in talking to you, she realized, I actually want to train here. And when prior to us relocating, it took heaven and earth to get there, but she made it happen because she was drawn by the community you created and the wonderful training facilities. So that's the background. And Bettina celebrated, for anybody who's listened to the podcast that Bettina was on, episode number 20 from memory, Bettina celebrated her 50th birthday. I'll just cough deliberately there. And did it with a lift party at your facility, and the support that the trainers had, that Bettina had, both with her own personal trainer and Jerry, but also the extended Queen of Lean community, was phenomenal. And
that was a very special day.
It was awesome. And Bettina probably has, we had that all recorded. And Bettina now used that as a presentation. We went to Fiji, and she took that experience and all the learning in that and presented it to a whole group of people, moved them to tears. So it was not so much, and that's what I've loved about your story and journey, is it's not about the lifting per se. It's about who you become in the process of the challenge and the transformation. And that is phenomenal. So
I think that's the part that I love, because it's the unexpected part. And I think a lot of the time women come to us and they'll either have, a surface goal of, I want to lose weight, or I think, I know I need to lift some weights. And then the journey that they go on emotionally and physically when they understand that deeper level. And I think, through my own personal journey and knowing how that's impacted myself, in terms of how empowered you feel being able to lift heavy weights, and my coaches understand that. And I think then being able to share that message with everyone else is kind of like this secret that when your clients get it, you're like, yes, they get it, they understand. So, it's not just about trying to lose weight. It's really about personal empowerment and that journey. So
and I love that, because the whole theme of our podcast is success and fulfillment. So you can achieve an outcome and not feel the tangible emotions that you're seeking for, which in reality, what I'm understanding you're saying is there's what we call means and end goals. So the means is the process to the end. So a lot of times you go, here's my goal. Yeah, but what is it that gives you? The real goal is the end goal. And in the process of losing weight, that's really tipping into a whole nother realm that you may not have even considered is really important to you. So I really love that in there. So So, Amanda, just by virtue of the people who may not be familiar with you and your journey specifically, would you be able to share a little bit of your backstory, a little bit about the Amanda Brown story that has helped get you to this place?
Yeah. Well, interesting. I actually started working in real estate. So
Right.
I was working as a personal assistant in real estate, and I reached a point where I just knew that I didn't want to be in a job that was desk bound. And I ended up going on an overseas trip, and I did 3 years of travel. And I guess that's kind of, where you go off and try and find what's important to you. And I came back, and I decided I'd always wanted to either be like a PE teacher or something within health and fitness. And I decided that becoming a personal trainer was the best and fastest way in, because I felt like at the time I was 27, I was like, oh my God, I need to really get moving with this career, because you think at 27 that you're old, but you're just not at all. And so I started out as a fitness first trainer, and as that journey evolved, I decided that I really wanted to work with females, and I found that there was a real lack of information in terms of what it meant to be healthy and fit, and I just felt like there was a lot of misinformation, very misguided. And at the time, I also felt as a personal trainer, I came up with a business name, the Queen of Lean. And at the time, I kind of felt like a bit of a fraud. I didn't feel like I was the Queen of Lean. I felt that, I had to go on a bit of a journey myself. And I think as a personal trainer, I felt quite inadequate, and I would do some crazy training methods where just kind of try and run 10Ks a day and restrict calories and, do all sorts of things. And then I decided that I wanted to do a figure comp and learn off other coaches. And I went on a journey of just really learning what it was to get results, to have balance, to go against the norms of the industry. And that was when I did a figure comp. And I guess, that helped to, that's a whole different realm, but it helped to build confidence within that area. And then after I'd finished doing the figure comp, I felt quite lost. And I was actually at a course, and it was with the Australian strength coach, Sebastian Oreb. He was taking the course, and they asked for any volunteers to come up to do a deadlift. And I came up and did a deadlift, and he just kept putting weight on the bar. And I think my starting weight was about 115 kilos. And he's like, oh, how often do you deadlift? I'm like, I don't. And wow, you should be a power lifter. And I was like, okay. Wow. So that was sort of how that part of it evolved. But, through coming up with the business name, the Queen of Lean, I just really wanted to empower women with that knowledge of what it was to be healthy and strong and, all of those amazing things. And I ended up opening up my own facility and really haven't looked back. So that was 5.5 years ago now.
Wow.
So.
Awesome. I definitely want to come back to the gym part, but there's some beautiful themes that you highlight in just that introduction that I think are really important and relevant. And a lot of the times it's following your own curiosity. A lot of the times, people quite often will start on a journey and they realize, I'm interested, and they suddenly realize there's another level that I want to get to, but I'm not at that person yet. I'm not that person. And you're right about the imposter syndrome. We've covered that before in a previous podcast, where you put out there Queen of Lean. That's a proclamation. That's a statement and saying, hey, this is the place. So you suddenly have the spotlight then turns on you and go, okay, am I the epitome of the representation of what I'm seeking to basically to share in my community? Am I the leader who's congruent with that message? And what you highlight is that sometimes you've got to grow into that yourself. So that it's quite often the process that is happening to lead people. And also sometimes what's really interesting is the silent mentors that are around you that plant a seed, like, hey, have you ever considered this? And you go, no, I hadn't. But the moment that you do, and I guess if you're receptive, and there's all these elements of synchronicity that say when you're ready and you're open, the guidance and the directions and the teachers appear, and suddenly they ask you a question that guides you on a direction which has transformed not only your life, but now the lives of so many women. So it's really interesting. There's so many. I'll look for themes. So I hope that's okay. It's kind of like I'm looking for a thread that we can expand on that's going to be really helpful. But that stood out to me. What about you, Adam?
Yeah, it is amazing, because at the time, like, where you have these people show up, it's like you have these guides at any given moment. I think at the same time as having those guides, you also have a lot of people standing there going, you shouldn't be doing that.
What are you doing?
Girl, what are you doing? Da, 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 like, and questioning you the whole time. And so, and I know that that's something that my clients really struggle with, is just going on your own journey and, staying true to yourself, because, a girl lifting weights isn't always, I guess, the norm. My husband would always get the question, like, how do you feel that your wife can lift more weights than you? And he's like, I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm an evolved man. But I think it is interesting how in life you do have those mentors that appear, because if they don't, you just wouldn't be where you are, and you kind of sometimes do reflect on a path that you could have gone down. You're like, whoa, I'm glad I didn't go down that way.
Yeah. No, it's really cool. And did you have anything you wanted to add there?
In terms of what path I didn't want to go down.
Yeah.
I guess like through school and education, I'd never really found my way. And then I know, like, when I left school, it was just kind of like, I don't know what to do. I had no idea. It was, I was doing an admin course. To be honest, I hated it. I was just coming home and going to bed. And I think, like, if I hadn't found certain people at that point, I could have seen myself just going into a bit of a depression and not really following those dreams. But I think you have to reach those points as well, and just go, hang on a sec, I am not happy here, and I need to really force change. It is interesting. Sometimes you've had mentors that help you move towards, and sometimes you have mentors that have helped you move away. And that's probably how I actually opened the Queen of Lean, which is an interesting story as well. I never actually thought that I would have my own gym. And after I left Fitness First, I went and worked out of another gym that was a very masculine space. It was all about bodybuilding, and the energies weren't aligned. There's a little bit of bullying going on there and things like that. And I reached a point where I was kind of like, okay, I either tuck my tail and go back to Fitness First and try and see what that looks like, or my back's against the wall, stuff it, go big, go home. And I just opened up my own place. So
and just that was a question I was just about to ask you, was what was the deciding factor? What was the turning point that you went, I could continue what I'm doing, I could keep being in an environment that is tolerable, but with these limitations? What was the point that turned it all for you? Was there a specific decision? Was there a specific emotion? Was there a specific experience that you went, nah, I'm crossing that line and I'm not going back?
Well, I kind of had to leave that place. Like, it was a time that was really challenging for me, because this was someone who I considered my mentor. And he was opening up his own space, and I was working as a trainer who paid rent within his space, and everyone else was an employee. So inadvertently, what happened was, there's kind of like, he had his employees and then there was me. And I think, like, he went with having some trainers that paid rent
Yeah.
because he was nervous launching his own business. It was kind of like, you know, you'd have like a regular rental income coming in, and you can't anticipate a particular situation, but running a business within a business, it just becomes a conflict of interest. And so I sort of to move on from there because I was no longer that model didn't work. And so I found that really hard to process because it was like, you were my mentor, you were my friend, and that happened. And so that was kind of a journey that I had to go on. But it's amazing what you can do when your back is against the wall.
Yeah.
Because if I didn't have that force where you look forward and you're like, oh my God, this is really scary. Opening my own place, a massive warehouse on my own. What if no one comes? You know, all of those types of things. And it's like, oh my God, I can't do it. And then you look back, you're like, well, I can't do that either. So I've got to go this way. So, you know, it's just, and I'm so grateful for that journey.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you know, you can't see this, but on my wall, just over my monitor, I've got a print that's got a guy between two rock faces, and there's a big gap between the two rocks, you know, two ledges, and he's just got to jump, and it says, take the risk. And no matter what we do, there comes a point where you have to just jump. There's that leap of faith. There's that process of going, I could be opening up this gym, and what the hell am I doing? We can come, but you just know it's the right thing to do. And it's a case of just having to overcome those 7 seconds of courage to just take that first step. And from that, then follow that path. But so many people become immobilized in that, I don't want to take that step. And you know, a lot of times Anthony Robbins says, it's either the pain of change or the pain of same. And the pain of change was you had to take a risk. You had to take a jump, and a big one. But the pain of same was being in an environment that was suppressing all that you could be. And it was creating an environment that wasn't healthy from what you're saying. So it's a really big distinction there. At some point, you have to take that jump, and you've done that really well. So Amanda,
like
Bettina, sorry, go on, Adam.
It sounds like the typical entrepreneur journey. Like, you know, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? Do I go? And I always use the Willy Wonka quote, like, you know, you have to go forward. You can't go back. You know, as it's going through the factory, the chocolate factory, and they go, oh, this is getting too weird for us. We want to go back. We want to go back. And he goes, no, you can't go back. You got to go forward before you go back. So I always use that in this journey, because you can't slow down. You just got to keep. And the second you start building the momentum, you can see you start gaining traction, and then the doubts start slowly getting quieter. There's always doubts, but you start, once you've got that momentum moving forward, you start lowering that doubt in your mind, and you go, actually, wait, I've got a bit of confidence. I know what I'm doing. And then you start gaining that confidence, and then people start seeing it. And as Jim said earlier, Bettina saw it through your branding. She loved the branding before she even knew anything about the rest of you guys. So, you know, that translates through all levels of your business.
Adam, 100%. Like, for anybody who hasn't checked out the Queen of Lean branding, do yourself a favor and check it out, because even if you live interstate, so and it's not physically possible for you, well, Amanda just said there's options for you to be engaged from a virtual sense as well. But get on board and have a look at how they do what they do so well, and how they talk to the needs and the fears and the goals of their ideal client. It's absolutely sensational. So just on that, Amanda, like I said to you, Bettina was drawn to that by virtue of the branding and the message that you have, and she loved it so much, as well as the environment. So I want to take you a step a little bit further beyond than taking the first step. How did you get super clear on who you wanted to work with? And how did you identify that that's exactly what they were looking for in not only an environment, but a community?
Yeah, well, I mentioned that I did the figure comp. And so when I was doing the figure comp, I was training a lot of women that were also doing figure comps. And then around that time, I then opened up the space, and I had the realization that going on that journey, it's not real life. It's, it worked really well for me. I had a great experience. Um, it was a great journey, but it's not how women's bodies should function or look, and it's not real life. And I realized that the more important message was for everyday women that are really struggling with this, and for women that are the mums, that are business women that are trying to juggle and balance everything. And the bodybuilding world is a real mismatch in that, where you're training 6 days a week and doing cardio and that's not real life. So that was where I really I actually switched who I was training and what my message was about. And the Queen of Lean, when we had that space, when I first launched that space, I wanted it to be something that was girly and feminine and inviting and fun. And it was really about, like, how can we get some serious results and, lift some serious weights as well, but just have some fun with it. Like, not take everything too seriously about reps and sets. So, and I think, going back to knowing that there was that misinformation in the industry as well, that women are just told to restrict calories and train more, and no one's taking into account the stress, the sleep, the balance, thyroid, hormones, all of those types of things. So it was just really a passion about helping women to find balance and to understand results and feeling good.
Yeah. And I remember when Bettina first came in and did the assessment with you, I mean, we've got a background in health, and that was impressive. And so, we can look at the metrics and the compositions and the calculations and the assessments and the thorough workup that you did is specifically catered to that, to looking at hormonal factors and looking at nutritional factors, looking at psychological factors, looking at a whole lot of it. It really struck me as how holistic that was. And that was part of the reason I wanted to have you on this podcast, because it was about offering a solution, a multidimensional solution that most people don't take into account. And what you've been able to do is niche it to your specific industry and specifically within your subcategory of people you want to work with. So that, to me, highlights you've given a lot of thought to who you want to work with, why you're doing what you're doing, and what is it that's the ultimate outcome that these women are looking for. And to me, that I think if people can take that and learn that and perhaps overlay it over their own industry, their own business, their own direction, it would really serve them well.
Well, everyone always comes to the table with something that's unique. And I think that it's insulting to throw a cookie cutter approach at someone when there's different goals, there's different challenges, there's different mindsets. So it obviously it's more labor intensive, because there are fitness business models out there that are more geared to a group fitness model, for example. And you go in, the group will train, and then everyone leaves and that's it. And that has its place as well, that creates a good community and everything there. But I just felt that there's so many challenges that we come up against that are personal to each individual and each female, that we need to honor that and see how we can navigate and help them. That's coaching, really. It's not coaching if you're just kind of doing a overarching coaching model and the same for everyone. It doesn't work that way. So
something that I've been working on this year is more visualization and clarity, and Jim's got me onto this probably a couple of years ago, but I'm a slow student. I take my time to sort of stew and feel it out and see how it moves. But when you go into a gym and then you start talking to a PT or a trainer and you go, I want to change my body, and they go, what do you want to do? And you're like, I want to lose weight and put on muscle, or I want to lose weight and I want to look ripped, and they're like, what do you want? And then you've still got this loose idea. So it's like, yeah, I just want to lose weight. And then they're like, all right, we'll just tailor you to this. But if you go into a trainer and you go, hey, I want to reach, deadlifting 185.5 kilos, and I want to reach this goal within 12 months. And how do I get my diet to be able to leverage myself to get to this situation? And you've got a mental picture of what your body looks like and what it takes to get to that point. The steps become a lot easier, and that's what the basis and that's what the benefits of having a great trainer or coach is. You clarify your goal to them, and they harness you, and they push you to your next level. And I can see that's what you seem to do, and that's what Jim seems to say that was outlaid to Bettina when she came in for her meeting. So
Yeah,
do you find that with first time clients coming in, they don't sort of always know what they want? They're just like, I want to change who I am. They just don't know what they want to become or who they want to become.
Yeah. And you have all sorts of levels in that. There could be just someone who hasn't trained and, their goal is just to get moving. Or you might have someone that has specifically trained and really likes deadlifting and wants to increase that strength to a certain number. So it's just, you get all sorts of journeys, and it's being able to adapt and match to that person so you can best support their goals and their outcomes.
Amanda, there's like 10,000 questions that I could and want to ask you, but I'm going to try and stay on track.
Right, we're in ISO life. We could talk all day.
I know. But okay, so all right, this is the most pressing one. Like I've got, like I said, there's some definite information, quite a bit of information want to come out, but I'm curious about the deadlifting, because that to me is like that full acknowledgement to you. That's impressive, man, woman, whatever. That's some serious weight there for power weight. When I compare, I'm nearly double your body weight at that competitive range, and so I'm doubling that. I'm going, holy smoke, I'm not near that, right? So it's really impressive in there. And you mentioned about your husband. I'm the same. When you're comfortable in your own skin, you're not intimidated by strong role models, particularly female. So I just wanted to acknowledge those. But can you talk to me about the psychology of lifting heavy, particularly as a female? Because I've heard quite often been said that the bar and the weight doesn't give a shit, doesn't care, doesn't care what day you've had. It's just a really humbling experience of truth and authenticity. So can you talk a little bit about the journey of lifting heavy and what it teaches you about life and yourself?
Yeah, it's it teaches you resilience, and it teaches you to just do it anyway. Because I think probably the most challenging lift is a squat, because you've actually got the weight on your back. You feel like there's a little bit more at stake there. Like a deadlift, you can just drop it on the ground and walk away. So I think like a squat is the one that really challenges you. And the amount of times that I've unracked the bar and you've got it on your shoulders and you're just like, oh shit, this feels really heavy. Like this is, whoa. And then it's this, can I swear?
Absolutely. You can.
It's just this moment of, fuck it. I'll go anyway. Let's see what happens. And because it always feels heavier at that point when you're standing before you actually go for the squat. And, I've had moments where I think I've got a video somewhere where it was a squat and it would have been a 6-second grind from the bottom. So you're just kind of like at this standstill, just
come on.
And I think it's just like that's a metaphor for life where there are those standstill moments where you have to just grind through it. And I've also, I remember like with the deadlifting, like before I did like particular milestones and broke records and things like that, like I put these stupid ultimatums on myself in my head. So before I lifted the bar, it was like, okay, well, you've got to lift this up or else your whole business is going to crash.
Right. Yeah.
So,
You're
so
kind of making these deals with yourself.
yeah. So yeah, I had to, depending on what was going on at that given moment, would dictate what deal I would cut with myself.
Yeah.
Well, as you said with the squat, it is a perfect metaphor, because how many times have you squatted up to lifting that next weight, and then up to that next weight? You have the technique, you have the rhythm, you know what to do. It's just a heavier workload. So you've just got to put that heavier weight on your back. And then what you do is, you know what you've got to do. You've got your technique, you've got your foot stance, you hold the bar in the same position roughly. And then you go, you look up and you move slowly. And yes, there is a grind, but there's nothing easy in this life. If you want to go to that next level, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have that 6-second lag at the bottom where you've got to really push through it. But then you get up to the top and you get all the spoils and the rewards. And that's an awesome metaphor for life.
Yeah. And the other thing is as well, like whenever I've gone under a bar and I've doubted myself, like it is amazing how much that translates in strength. Like as soon as you have those moments where you're like, oh, I can't do this, I'm like and you're talking yourself out of it, sure as hell that bar's not going to come up. You know, you have to go, you just have to go in there with stuff it, I'm doing it anyway type thing. And because there's with anything, there's always going to be fears, there's always going to be doubts, there's imposter syndrome, you know, all sorts of things. You just have to do it anyway.
So it's a perfect example, sorry Adam, perfect example, as you said, of the resiliency that you develop in there. It's just there's so many lessons that you're taking out of lifting, being under a squat rack, under a squat bar, that you can go, okay, where else in my life can this apply? And it's a perfectly transferable lesson.
Yeah. And if you don't choose to take on those things that make you feel really scared, you're not going to get those lessons. You're not going to get that journey, because, you know, you'll turn your back on it. You have to get in there with your palms sweating and, you know, feeling like you can't feel your legs, but you've got to do a squat.
That's good. Adam, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, we've just touched on the FU mentality as well before. And, you know, you just get in and, you know, as you said, just fuck it, let's go for this and let's push. And again, get your hands and get in the mud and just get dirty and do the work, and you'll reap the rewards. I know you're using it for lifting, but there's so much that we can take out of this for business and moving forward. And earlier my mic wasn't working, so I've switched them, but you were talking about how in this time through COVID, many people didn't want online businesses, and it was awesome to see you pivot to that. And I'm in the same situation as well now. So we're in COVID, not many people can do it. So what do? We go, F you, doesn't matter. Let's go with this online. What's the worst that can happen? We've just got to put ourselves out there, and, you know, you change your directions according to the situations. And sorry, I couldn't say that earlier, but I really wanted to just come back and say, I really appreciate that's your mentality and that's your mindset. Like let's just get this done and let's let this work for us.
Yeah, I know you mentioned about your mic before. That's right. I was calling out to you, and I go, "Hey, Adam, no, is that okay? His mic's gone. Let's just keep going. Keep
going. The show must go on.
The show must go on." So on that, Amanda, just want to backtrack just 1 second. So you talked about heaviness, lifting heavy, and all it teaches you. So I want you to, if you could, expand on the role of femininity. And because Adam's talking about under the grind, under the bar, mud, and like to the blokey blokes, they're going to go, sure, no wonder, that's just like Saturday, that's no problem. But how do you get into the psychology of women who have been conditioned to believe that femininity is not strength in the conventional sense? How do you get them to embrace the learnings that you're talking about from power and still marry it up with femininity so that they actually feel feminine and strong?
Well, that's a tough one. I think, everyone's unique in how they view lifting weights. And I think it's just taking them on that journey at the pace that works for them.
Yeah.
And I think it's empowering someone within that set, and there's always that look on someone's face where like, whoa, I didn't think I could do that. And I think it gradually unfolds for them. And I think as a culture, we're really embracing that more and more for females, that females can be strong and empowered, but they can also be, feminine and soft. And, there is that balance. It doesn't have to go one way or the other. But yeah, I think it's just taking someone gradually on that journey, celebrating their successes within being able to do things that they didn't think was possible. And yeah, I think making that a part of the feminine energy, and also around the community. Our community really understands that. And I think because our branding message is so clear of what we do, we do attract a lot of those women that are looking for that. So yeah, and it is really nice when you see that journey unfold for someone.
It's an interesting topic because Jim talks a lot about having males be vulnerable and opening up to themselves, because not many males do this. And what you're saying is having women become a being of strength, or embodying like this masculine. So it's funny how both genders seem to struggle with the opposite, because they feel like it's going to take away from what they are, not who they are, what they are. Like, I am man or I am woman, and I can't be feminine or I can't be masculine. And it's just it's a conversation in your head. It doesn't change you as a person, it enhances you. You become more of a complete and well-rounded being. And this is what it's beautiful. You said it as well. It's becoming more accepted for women to be able to lift heavy weights and not being judged, going, oh, she's a bit of a man, isn't she? It's actually, wow, she's a strong, independent woman, and she is physically strong as well as mentally. And I think that's a beautiful shift that's happening in society. And same as Jim's working on a lot of males opening up and being more vulnerable, and I think that's a beautiful way to look at it as well. So 2020 has been bad, but we are becoming more accepting of being well-rounded human beings, not just male does this, female does this.
I'm looking, it will still challenge a lot of people. It still is something like, hang on a sec, that makes me a bit uncomfortable. That's not the norm. So yeah, there's always going to be, I guess, a couple of sides of the coin as well.
Yeah, Amanda, the big takeaway word that I heard both in yours and Adam's saying is empowerment. Really, it's an empowerment. And I think that a lot of the work that leads to empowerment, there's a book written by Nathaniel Branden called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem. So a lot of it comes back to self-esteem, seeing how you're seeing yourself, and the expression of that person through, and really the lifting of heavy weights in and of itself, or the transformation, is the vehicle through which that allows you to get there. A lot of the breakthroughs that we talk about, Adam and I have a background in martial arts and jiu-jitsu. And there's an area, there's a confronting nature of that shows you to you. And that's the process of getting you to that outcome. But a lot of it does come from, when Adam talks about vulnerability, it's esteem and feeling comfortable in your own skin and getting to that point. So it highlights the personal growth journey that you always have to do, because if you don't do the personal growth work to match up with the results you're getting, you'll sometimes get to the results and go, I thought I'd feel better, or you get the result and you don't feel worthy enough of it and you sabotage yourself. So we see that play out so many times. And so why it's important, which I'm really glad you highlighted, is just how important you're doing your own growth work in that process as well. So that's just really cool. So in terms of, and you touched on it briefly, you maintain great connection with your members, your branding's great, you talk about that. How do you actually do that in a way of building a strong community, obviously retaining your clients so that they
Mm,
go, I'm going to travel an hour and a half to get there. I'm going to
mm,
get on a Zoom call from the other side of the country to
mm.
participate because that's my tribe. How do you actually build culture and community like that?
Well, I think that that's something that I've just, through COVID, have been so grateful for. Like the community aspect of it has really shone through. And I think, it goes back to treating everyone as an individual and coaching them on a personal level. But then it also comes into the branding and who we attract within the community. And then we also run like a lot of community events outside of, just training. Everyone's coming together within the classes. We have hiking events, we had a movie night, we have charity events. These have all turned to like online virtual events. Like we ran the other week, we did a ISO hunt. So via Zoom, our clients got on. We had to go around our local neighborhood and find particular things. So that was quite fun. But yeah, I think it's really about the community events and bringing everyone together. And that's been the shift for our clients' results as well, having that support of each other and being able to share their own journeys amongst each other. So, that's the essence of what's really important.
Okay. So building your community was about, number one, identifying who your ideal client is, what kind of things that they like to do. And from what I'm understanding, you've got multiple avenues of engagement with you. Now, there's a couple of programs you've written, you run as well too. I know Bettina's been a part of those, which are outside of those, which are like 6 week, 8 week programs that keep you lasered on there. So you've got multiple avenues of engagement with people.
Yeah.
But you're bringing in a fun element, you're bringing in an enjoyment element. So you're looking at the metrics of just come in. You've gone from a transaction and an experience. I lift weights, I'm out of here, I go, to how do I create the environment that people want to spend time here willingly and feel comfortable enough to do things even on a social level. So you're basically creating strong connections and associations with your members over and above just the transaction of a training.
Yeah, and look, I think that's the really important part. Women crave connection like that, and I always find it interesting. Since leaving high school, we don't really get the opportunities to really meet people on a deeper level that often. So I think within a gym community, you are given that opportunity because it's a place that you go to on a regular basis. And there are the events, like our 8-week, 12-week events. Like we've got Fit AF, where everyone does like.
Can you expand on that one, because I know what the AF stands for.
Yeah. So we just decided like we wanted to run something at the start of the year that was really about like just launching into the year, getting great results. And I think we were brainstorming a couple of names, and then it was just like, you just want to get fit as fuck. That's just what it is. So, we kind of toned it down to Fit AF. And that was sort of how that came about. We also run.
So just on that too, because I love this, for people who don't even know what the hell you're talking about, there's a photo shoot at the end of that as well.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So tell us about the wins and the personal celebrations and the victories that the women who have done that have been able to achieve by having a photo shoot to celebrate their wins.
Yeah, look, we actually started with Project Bikini. That was our first one. Right. That came before Fit AF. Because, women always want to feel confident, to get into a bikini. And, it's really taking it next level when they're doing a 12-week prep for a photo shoot in a bikini. Like that's kind of, for any females that are listening or anyone that's taken that on with us is just like, oh my God, I can't do that. That's not me. But it's also as well, like with having the photo shoot at the end, I wanted something that was that they had to stick to, that your back's against the wall, you're going to be like in 12 weeks time, your bikini fitness wear. So Fit AF is a fitness wear photo shoot. And, you know, it's going to make you really uncomfortable, and it's going to force that journey. But as we were saying earlier on, that's where all the lessons are, because, you know, so often within a fitness journey, it's so easy to go, oh, this is getting a little bit hard now, I might just stop. And we wanted to make sure that that you had to keep working through whatever it was that was coming up for you.
That's ultimate accountability.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Ultimate accountability.
Oh, totally. And then, you know, we always have like a night out after it, and you know, everyone loves the journey. I think, and it's one of those things where, you know, a lot of the time women will take it on. They're like, I don't really care about the photo shoot, but then that's the part that they end up loving. And yeah, it's about celebrating everything that you've done, and it's about celebrating those moments when your back has been against the wall, that you followed through, and now you look like a supermodel. And people can't believe that. Whenever, because we've got all the photos up in the gym, it's like, are they your clients? Like, they look like oxygen chicks. It's really, really cool.
I think I'd stick to the program just to get to that night out and just have a big party. Especially in COVID times. I'm waiting for the next big night out now. We don't know when it's going to happen here.
I'm just, you know, I know the journey and the wins that Bettina had specifically on that, and like you said, overcoming your own demons to not only do the training but to keep going through. Like, there's so many lessons that you in that program, in that experience, that you can transfer to other areas of your life. Like, that's I know I keep bringing it back there, but to me, you know, because let's be honest, a lot of people will quite often look at that experience and go, oh no, I could never do that, or 185.5, I could never do that. And there's blokes out there, Amanda, who are going to go, I can't do that, right? But what I love that you've done is you've shown someone what's possible, and then you have what's called the social proof. So you've gone, hey, here's a wall full of people who were just like you. He didn't feel like they could do this. They took the step, they made the commitment. Look what's possible. And that gives people permission, and it gives them a model and a reference to go, I can do that. That's it was like the breaking of the 4-minute mile. When people ran it, no one thought it could be done. And the moment it got done by Roger Bannister the following year, so many people also broke it. Why? Because it broke down what I thought was possible. And this is what you're doing is, and like I said, you're doing it in your avenue, in your industry, with your target market and your clients. But anybody who's listening can look at this and go, why can't I do this in my world? Why can't I do this with my business and my clients? So I love that. So
hang on.
That's okay. That's probably someone going, hey, I want to deadlift heavy. I want to deadlift heavy.
I put do not disturb on there. Hang on, do not disturb. Why aren't you working? Okay, let's turn that off. All right.
Because someone needed to get through. That's cool. So that's how we keep the show going and keep it all progressing as we have. So just on that, so we've talked a lot about your client. So how do you position, like, the fitness industry, the health industry? They're busy industries, they're noisy industries. So how do you establish yourself as an authority, as someone who's preeminent in that space with your specific message and your brand?
I think it's just being able to just give as much knowledge as you can. I was lucky, like when I launched my business, it was really at the beginning phases of Facebook. It was back when you could put up a post on Facebook without a photo. And now it's kind of, you know, it evolves. And I think you have to be prepared to evolve with it. And you have to be prepared to keep learning and keep unfolding different journeys. You know, so I went through that phase of figure comps and sharing that message, but then it was like powerlifting and empowerment there. And then I'm also a mom, so it's like sharing that message of being a mom and an entrepreneur, and but also as well just giving as much as you can, and learning and growing. Like at the moment, I never thought I would take on something like this, but I'm studying herbalism.
Awesome.
And so, I'm looking at how that can add a new dimension to my business. And I think you have to be committed to growing. And I think that's something that I also love about having a business is it forces that growth, and you have to evolve, because my industry is a very flooded industry. Everyone's got an Instagram account, everyone's got a Facebook account, and there is it is amazing how much content is out there, how much people are producing, and good content. So I think you have to be able to stay in the game with all of those types of elements.
So you mentioned social media, and there's been a running joke here on the Launch and Beyond.
He's going to go there again.
I've got to get Jim to dance with me on a TikTok. I can't dance, but I'm trying to convince him, because I go, this is where the evolution of social media is. It's in TikTok. And have you looked into the TikTok and all that stuff and the organic growth?
I haven't TikToked. I haven't. I have to admit that I haven't gone down that path.
Because I remember when you said Facebook and posting without photos, it took me way back to 2007 when I got my first Facebook account. And you could share your favorite songs, but it wasn't even like posting it. You just share your song, and then people would have to go off and find it somewhere else. And it was a different time. But you look at the journey of social media and how far it's come, and how big brands can get using it in a correct manner. And again, Bettina mentions how awesome your branding is, and I guess that's a standout for your company. I haven't been into a gym, so I haven't been to your gym, and we haven't been to gyms in.
We wouldn't let you come in. You're a man.
Oh, all right. Is that how that works?
I know. When I went into the gym when Bettina had her 50th birthday lift, I felt like I had to have diplomatic immunity. I felt like it was a special place. But on all jokes aside, there was a reverence around the facility, and it was a special. You just walked in and you went, the needs of women are met right here. They feel safe. They feel, and it actually really is tailored to that. So I felt like I had diplomatic immunity, and I was in a special access. I had a special access card that allowed me into that environment. So that was really cool, really special. So I want to ask you something, and just Adam, I'll explain that. There's a running joke. Adam tries to bring this into every podcast, and I try and shoot him down every time. I'm going, Adam, I'm not going to dance on TikTok. Forget it. But somehow, no matter what we talk about, no matter who we talk to, he tries to slip it in, and it's always the same answer. So I just thought I'd give you some backstory in terms of why that's happening.
Amanda was talking about grinding away. It's that 6-second push at the bottom of the squat that you really need to focus. And I'm going to keep grinding away until I get the result.
I appreciate your perseverance.
Determination.
I appreciate that. And just please be comfortable knowing that's not going to happen. So, Amanda, amongst a lot of challenges that every business has, there may have been specific business challenges that you've had. So would you be able to share some of the specific challenges that your business has faced in your journey over the last 5.5 years?
Oh, so many challenges. And I think like when you take on a business, you're quite naive to the sorts of challenges that you'll come up against. Sorry, that's my phone again. I think you start out really naive to what sort of things that you will face. And, we talked about like even, just having the guts to be able to launch a business like that in itself, I believe is a challenge. I think some of the things that I've found really challenging is the team aspect and being able to get the right people and have people on board. And I've had really disappointing moments within that. And not, I have an amazing team now and you go on that journey, but I think, I've had times where I've had a staff member where you consider them a close friend, they're finishing up, they're telling you that they're leaving the industry. It's like, okay, cool, you wish them on their way, and then you find out that they're 400 meters down the road at an opposing gym so high. I think like those types of moments where I think when you feel like you've been true to them and that you've been transparent and those sort of elements, and you question a lot of that. And I think when it comes to business, when it comes to money, when it comes to stepping into the role as a boss, it changes everything. It changes your relationships with people. And so, I've found those aspects challenging. And we had to move locations recently. Like that was a part where, I really loved that Kensington location. And
that was a 1,200 square meter. Yeah, sorry. It was 1,200 square meter facility.
Yeah.
So you did have to move. That was massive. That was the one that I went to.
Yeah. And look, I love that place, and that meant so much to it. That was my moment where, I got the guts to launch that business, but every single bit of paint on the walls was when my husband and I did that ourselves. And, we really didn't have the money to be opening a business at the time. So we did everything ourselves. We did the floors, so I think like moving out of that was a challenge. And then, the financial cost of that, where you feel like, even though I'm trying really hard and I'm working really hard, that financially, you're taking a back step because, in any journey, and whether it's lifting weights, whether it's business, life, weight loss journey, like it doesn't just go in a straight line.
No.
And you have to be okay with those moments where it's like, whoa, I've gone really backwards here. And, going forwards despite that. So I think, and as I was saying before, having a business forces you to move forward because you've got no choice. It's either you have those moments that are sink and swim, or sink or swim. And, it's just like when COVID came about, I think, when you've worked that muscle before, when your back's been against the wall and you have to pivot and do something quickly, that's when you're able to, because you have had those challenges in business. And there's a picture in the gym, and it was one of the first photo shoots that we did. And I often look at that picture and I think, oh my God, that girl standing there who was just opening her business, she had no idea what she was about to take on. And and I would do it again. Like I still, I think in business you go through phases where it's a really challenging phase, and then, you're cruising and it's great. And then you kind of, you're back in the challenges again, and you have to be okay with that.
I think that's one thing about elevating yourself, again, in business or in a fitness journey or anything. Like you can cruise along, but you'll stay at the same level. When the challenges come again, that's because you're moving to that next level. That's preparing you, working out that, as you referenced, that new muscle, so that you're training that muscle, so that when you get to that next weight or that next challenge, you're set up for that. You're not just plateaued the whole time, because it's easy to be comfortable and go, oh yeah, I'm happy now, I'm content. I can constantly lift the same weights, or I can constantly make the same amount of money, but how do I get to that next level? That's when the new challenges come. It comes to prepare you.
And you don't always know that at the time. Like, when you're kind of in a fetal position crying, and you're like, I can't move forward, what lesson am I supposed to learn? And then 6 months down the track, you're like, that's what that was about. It finally sort of drops in. But
Amanda, you beautifully highlighted the entrepreneurial journey and the roller coaster that is the case. I mean, that you go through variations and fluctuations. Is that your own journey of what it takes to get to that point, but then the disappointments that come. And truth be known, you talk to any business person, entrepreneur, we've had the same experience. We've had situations where you extend trust and it's violated, and you do, and you go through periods of contraction and expansion. You go, okay, so do I now become overly protective and don't open up again so that I protect that? But what happens, you end up hardening yourself and your vision. So there is an element of vulnerability that has to go, you know what? It's the cost of fulfilling this dream and vision. And occasionally I'm going to be disappointed. And there's a poem written by Mother Teresa called "Do It Anyway," and there's a line in there specifically when she says about you will be, basically there'll be people who will lie to you, cheat, and steal. Do it anyway, because it's not about them; it's about you. And that's the biggest learning that I've had to take was, you know what, it's going to happen. Mitigate the risks, but keep moving forward. I think that's a really important process in the journey. And
and you think it's just you.
No, yeah, that's right. You think it's just you, and so when this is the whole purpose of personalizing our podcast, to let people know, you know what, it happens to everybody, and you just keep going. And the other thing that Adam talked about it doesn't always go level. There's always changes, and what happens is the process of growth. When they've done a whole lot of study in the area of chasing flow and peak performance, you've got to constantly be confronted with a challenge that's a little bit bigger than where you're at, because you need to grow into it in order to get it. Now, if the challenge is too big, like if you're getting under a squat rack and it's 1,000 kilos, then it's overwhelming, right? So it blows your confidence. But if it's too light, you don't grow, you get bored. So the challenge has to be a little bit outside of where you're at to force you to grow into that person that will move that goal, whether it's in a squat rack, whether it's somewhere else. And there's a lot of the times in business where challenges come up, and they'll only come up because you're going to find a solution. You're going to find a way. And there's a lot of us at the time would have gone, why do I have to be so capable that all these challenges show up? But you develop into who you need to be in order to do that. And that's pretty much what I took out of what you said about in 6 months' time, you look back and go, that's what that was about. I get it now. So,
well, if you listen to a lot of the world leaders, what they will say is, I was never ready to be a president. I was never ready to be a prime minister. But how many jobs are out there that are the president or prime minister? You can't be ready for the job until you're there. You know, you don't know what that entails. You don't know the challenges until you actually get in and do the work. And that's leveling up, you know, whether or not you own the business or you work in the business, you're always going to be leveling up. And, you know, that's where the challenges are. And on the mornings where you wake up and you go, do I really want this in my life? You turn around and go, what's the opposite? What would I be doing apart from this? And every time I bring myself to that question, I go, I would never be doing anything else. So yes, it's a challenge, but I'm moving forward. And
totally, I ask myself that all the time. It's like, well, what's the alternative?
We all do. We all do. What the hell am I doing?
This is really hard. What's the alternative? Okay, I'll do the hard one.
I could never see myself do it. As many times as I'm like, yeah, maybe I could work for someone, you know, be a kick-ass salesperson, or I could be an awesome chef developing this and that. And I'm like, you know what? I can't see myself doing that. I control my life now. And all right, there's always external factors involved, but I control what I can control. And
it's Shawshank Redemption.
You're
institutionalized within a business. And I think that's an interesting part of my industry, like the fitness industry. So many coaches don't anticipate that they'll be running their own business, and so you just kind of get given that, and but you are institutionalized into running your own life. And like, imagine now someone, you know, telling you what to do, or organizing your diary, or saying, where are you at this time? Or
the best part about being in my situation is if I'm tired and I want a nap, I get to go have a nap. Like, and that's something I can't do when I work for someone else. And that's the one thing I always go, you know what, if I'm tired today, I'm just going to have that half an hour nap. And I know that I'll be refreshed and come back and start smashing my day. So that's always the one positive I always come back to. Like if I'm really having a tough time,
I couldn't nap.
I get to have a nap.
I have to be awake all day long.
That's a trade-off. That's a trade-off.
Yeah,
So,
that's the trade-off.
Yeah,
I might work till 10 p.m. that night or 11 p.m. But I got that 2 p.m. nap just to get me through the next 8 hours.
Yeah, it's a freedom.
So there's one of the traits. So Amanda, there's like 10,000 questions that we could ask, but I'm mindful of the time that we've got in through here. So you mentioned earlier that you've had to adapt your business model through COVID, right? Yours is very much a service-based business that involves a physical presence, and you've talked a little bit about creating an online presence and pivoting and changing. Can you tell us some of the steps that you've taken and what that's involved and how you think it's actually going to benefit your business when things return to quote unquote normality?
Yeah, well, when COVID first started sort of trickling in, I guess, like, we'd have clients that had to self-isolate because they'd been in contact with someone that was testing and da-da-da. And so we started at that point offering live stream one-on-one PT sessions because these were people that weren't actually sick. They were just stuck at home for a couple of weeks. And I was a little bit hesitant with that because, traditionally I'd only really ever known like one-on-one training in-house in a gym. And I'd see the coaches doing it and I'd be watching it and be like, oh, it's working pretty well. Like they're having a good challenging workout. They're getting correction, they're getting pushed, all of those things. So that was kind of how it started. And then when the announcement came in that we had to close, and that was on the Sunday, pretty much we were closed from I think it was the Monday afternoon or the Tuesday or something like that. And like there was a lot of fear that came in at that point. And I'd even had a conversation with my accountant, like, having like, what does it look like to have to shut this down? Because there were so many unknowns at that point. And so I called an emergency meeting with the team. And I just said to them, look, basically, I'm going to be really transparent here. I don't have this cash stash sitting there just to pay you guys for the next whatever,
however long,
months or however it is. What we talk about now in this meeting is going to save your position and it's going to save the business. So we have to knuckle down and work as a team and work out a bit of a plan. So by that afternoon, like we had a list of all of our clients. We had put our equipment all in little piles around the gym and had assigned it to particular clients. Every trainer got on the phone and just worded everyone up that we would be doing live stream one-on-one. They came and collected the equipment, over the next couple of days. All of our classes switched to online. And, that's how we sort of moved forward with it. And look, I'm really, really lucky because as a business model, training females, it's been a really easy transition. You can have a really challenging workout with a booty band, a couple of dumbbells for females. So I think like there's other gyms out there that maybe like a powerlifting gym hasn't had the same sort of luxury as what I've had, like whether someone's needing a lot of weights and things like that. But yeah, that was sort of how we pivoted on that day. And I'm so grateful that we moved really quickly. We had that announcement Sunday. By Tuesday we were completely online. And we probably I think we're running at about 60% capacity. Like not everyone transferred to online. Some people just wanted to be in the gym. But it's actually been just a massive blessing in disguise for our clients. And I think, when I come back to the relationships, it was really about the community. And in that moment, I think our community also knew that like they were saving us as much as we were helping them. And I think they really got behind us because of that community aspect there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm really grateful for that. And my team, they're this team that just never complain. You know, oh guys, we have to shut down. Okay, what do we need to do? Bang, they're
Yeah.
on it. You know,
Yeah.
and they really get on with it. And I actually had a staff member that started with us the day before we closed. And so,
Wow. Good timing.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And you know, she's been amazing, like running sessions from her house and getting on with it. And yeah, it's
Well, it's
incredible.
refreshing to see how you have spun this into a very positive direction. And I remember when I was in Dubai in February, mid-February. So I was traveling around with the Asian team that I work with when we consult. The head guy is American, Argentinian American, but he lives in Shanghai. So they were seeing all of the Wuhan, the lockdowns. They were in lockdown while we were in Dubai. So I was seeing all the ramifications over there before it hit the Western world, before all the travel bans and all this. And he was talking to his PT and going, this is what's happening in China. We know this is spread around the world. You need, and his trainer is based in Melbourne because he comes out here 3 or 4 times a year, but he likes his style. He goes, you need to move your platform online. You need to learn bodyweight exercises. You need to run your structures in classes and be able to offer this to your clients. And the trainer was saying, no, it's never going to happen. Don't worry about it. You know, Melbourne's so far away from Shanghai. And then he goes, I can't give my clients the same value online. And he was making all these excuses. And come 3 months later, where all the lockdowns came in, the gyms are closed, he was asking him, how do I do this? And the guy goes, I told you 3 months ago, you could have already been in front. You could have been a leader. Now you didn't want to pivot. You were in your comfort zone. Good luck to you. And he went back to his Asian trainer, his Chinese trainer, because he was like, at least this guy saw the foresight and he moved forward and he has supported me this whole time. And it just shows that it doesn't matter how much information you might have, you've got to have that guts to go, hey, actually, let's flip this because otherwise we might go under. And it's really refreshing to see people like you who have gone, you know what, let's just do this because the other option is just not an option.
Yeah, and for the most part, you feel like you're just muddling your way through as well. Oh, I'll just try this and and you know, probably the benefits long term. Going back to your question, Jim, is we'll continue to do the live stream classes. Like a lot of our clients were saying to us they're actually training at a higher frequency now. The convenience of, like, you know, when things go back to normal, not necessarily having to go from work to the gym to home, that you could just go straight home, do your session and you know, make dinner and do whatever you need to do, or you know, early in the morning. So they've actually found it really convenient. It doesn't replace the gym. I think, you know, everyone's getting zoomed out these days.
But you're 100% correct. And to carry on from what Adam said, what you've done exceptionally well is pivot within 2 days, like fast, quick. And you're right, there may be adaptations. I agree with you. There's nothing that replaces the physical environment. We've kitted up our backyard. So we've got a phenomenal set of facilities. And actually, it's funny you talk about Zoom class because I had this moment earlier on because I was coaching a client really early this morning, and Bettina was having a Zoom class with Jerry this morning, and it's like 8 o'clock, and she's walked out of a training session, and I've said to her, I've got to be honest, we are not normal. We are not normal because it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I've been working, you've been training, and 99% of the free world is still asleep.
Mind you, that's on a Saturday.
Yeah, that's on a Saturday. It's a Saturday morning, you know. So, but it just shows that the adaptation capacity and the importance of being able to adapt. And what you've done, all right, okay, it may not be what everybody wants, but there's either people who wanted it as a choice, had it as an option. If you've wanted to not train, well, you've just lost 6 months. And you haven't really been able to progress moving forward. But the people have realized that, you know, exercise is important to me. It's important to my identity. And how can I do this while things aren't perfect? How do I adapt it in the size that best fits me right now? And you've been able to adapt it. And as you said, you'll get to a model where you go, great, welcome back. Let's physically see you. But it's probably giving you another dimension for your business for people who can't always be there. So I think that's the lesson to take out is, okay, what can you learn from this experience? How have you adapted? And how can you use this information to improve your business going forward? So
yeah, the fact that we, when we do reopen, that we don't have to reopen from a standstill.
Yeah, that's
Our
brilliant.
clients are already training. They'll probably have the same slot in the diary. It's just kind of like, okay, now you come back to North Melbourne instead of doing it in your lounge room.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
pivot that way. And just so grateful for that. And a lot of the time, like, I don't give myself any credit. I go, oh, that was lucky.
Yeah.
Muddle your way through it. But yeah, I think it's just, you have to find a way to keep going. And I knew it was make or break, because the reality is, if you've got a business, you've been closed for that amount of time, it doesn't mean that all of a sudden all your bills turn off. You've still got software subscriptions, you've still got electricity, you've still got rent and all of those things. So
and even if you defer the payments, they're still waiting for you. It happens, it all catches up. So you've got to be flexible. And I'm glad to hear that you'll continue with your Zoom calls, because with a female customer base or client base, it's awesome that you've got the room to move. So the mothers who couldn't step away for that hour you've got your class time, but then you've got your travel to and from, they're at home now going, I can get this training session in, because all I've got to do is maybe get someone for 1 hour in the evening, get my husband to watch them while I go and train, and it makes it more accessible for everyone. And I love that about your concept of continuing to move forward with this Zoom.
Yeah, and look, I think, realistically, it's also going to be a bit of a hybrid model as well, because there's social distancing. We can't have the same numbers in classes. So like, we'll book in what we can, but if someone doesn't make it into the booking, then they've still got the live stream. And there might be some challenges where, if we still have to wear masks, some people might not want to train in masks, so they can still train from home if they want. So I think there's going to be a little bit of that going on when we transition back in.
No,
I'm terrible with the mask. I'm sorry. I'm going to admit it. I haven't worn a mask for 2 weeks now. So, but that's when training. I'm not saying everywhere that I go, but and you know what? When people, because it's all cardio based, when I'm out and running or coming off walking at the end of the run, I've seen police cars driving past, and they're fine. They understand that you're working out. You're not around so many people. It's out in the open. They've been pretty good when you're exercising, but when you're in a closed, contained area, I understand the mask. But I'm admitting that I've been a bit loose on the rules.
Yeah, I know. I was actually having the conversation the other day whether the shields would be better for
No, they
training. I think at least
you can breathe.
The legislation says face covering, so you can adapt it to whatever. So the shield is a covering of your face.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
I'm not going to go through all the loopholes right now, because it's not the time on a podcast.
It's a different podcast episode. So Amanda, we want to give you an opportunity in a moment. If there's something that we haven't covered that you really love to leave our listeners with, but before we do that, if people would like to connect with you, find out more about your brand, the Queen of Lean, all the range of products and services that you offer, how would they do that?
So through our social media channels is the best way. We've got our Facebook page, which is the Queen of Lean, Instagram. We also have our website, which is www.thequeenoflean.com.au. And get in touch with us. I'm very hands-on within the business. Most likely you will talk to me initially, and I want to know about your goals and what's going on and how we can best help. That's the best way to connect.
Great, awesome. And just in, I guess, final comments, is there something that, you know, we may not have touched on today, or something that you've got a burn to just share as a final thought, comment, or I know it's a question without notice. You know, it's just a case of going, hey, is there something that
the comment.
you'd really love to just leave our listeners with as a parting gift?
Look, I think, you know, from a business perspective, I think I am not the smartest, the best, maybe I'm the strongest. Come on, guys.
Okay. well and true. Like that is just okay. You've nailed us both. I think collectively, both of us. Yes, you probably nailed both of us there.
But I think, you know, from a personal perspective, I have so many self-doubts and things I question myself on all the time. And I think probably the most important message is go after what's important to you. You know, that those doubts and voices are always going to be there. And whether, you know, that's a business journey, whether that's a weight loss journey, you know, and also find those people that can support you and have been there before and can mentor you. But it's not always going to be easy. It doesn't go in a straight line. You're not always going to feel like you're nailing it. But, you know, just keep going forward anyway. That fuck it moment.
Yeah. Let's just go. I love it. And Adam, are there any final comments you have regarding any element of what we covered today, or anything that Amanda just said? And, you know, you feel free, the right of reply about, you know, our male honor is being challenged here, and Amanda's got us covered. But that aside, is there anything you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, firstly, thanks for coming on, Amanda. It's been awesome. And congratulations on being able to build a community for strong females, strong women, and to, through COVID, have a platform to support them, because there's so many people in this time who are feeling isolated, and you being able to flip your business and putting it online and still going with the online hikes or scavenger hunts and finding things in neighborhoods. It's been a great way to keep everyone together and keep everyone informed, and, you know, sort of get them outside of their four walls at home and moving through and continuing to keep people healthy. And that's one of the things that I heavily disagree with the government. Instead of locking us all down, why not provide us with more health tips and growing us to be more healthy in this situation, to be able to combat it from our best physical point of view? So to have trainers and coaches like you who are able to keep spreading the word through an online platform, it's been amazing. So keep continuing to do that. And even once all the COVID things happen, I think you've got now a larger format to keep spreading your message. And I'm really great and glad to have met you. So thanks for coming on.
It's been great. It's been great chatting.
Yeah. And Amanda, same sort of thing with me. Very grateful that you'd made some time to be on our podcast show. I've loved your message. It's so transferable to so many people in so many industries, whether they're running their own business or not. You know, the lessons you talk about resiliency, the lessons you have shared regarding just going for it, the lessons you've talked about, particularly for our women listeners, about embracing and empowering themselves, and through the process of transformation, becoming who they desire to be, and what you set up for them, help you celebrate. How I should say, how you help them celebrate that is extraordinary, because it's absolutely fantastic. And, you know, on a personal level, I want to thank you for the gift and the empowerment that you've helped my queen achieve. She loves being part of your community. She loves what you have to offer, and she can't wait to get back there in a physical presence. So thank you on my part for the part of transformation that's happened for her. I'm really.
Yeah, she's such a special woman, and it's great having Bettina as a part of the community.
Yeah, no, it's awesome.
It's funny because at coaching dinners last year, and when we had her on the podcast, the section she talks about your gym, you see this light in her eyes, and now I understand why, because there's such a positivity around you, and if you're doing it just for her, that's amazing. But I know you're doing it for everyone. So congratulations and well done.
Yeah. Imagine an environment, Adam, where you've got a team of clients who are like that. It's extraordinary. And you only just had to walk into that environment as an outsider to go, there's something special going on here. And that's why I was really honored to have Amanda on the program today. So once again, thank you. Thank you, Amanda. And look, thank you for everybody for joining us. We hope you've gained value out of this podcast episode. This is just a reminder that you can connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, and the extended Launch and Beyond community on these channels. Now, if you've got any questions or comments you want answered about the podcast or anything you'd like support with, please reach out. You know, a lot of times people have questions, thoughts that are the same as everybody else, but no one's prepared to come forward and share it. And I think Amanda's talked about the importance of just going for it is really, really important, and starting that dialogue, which will have a huge ripple effect and much greater than you possibly didn't realize. And if you are enjoying the podcast and find value in it, we'd be really grateful if you could just go over to iTunes and leave us a review. What that's going to do is allow us to spread our message amongst a greater audience to help more people. So for me, thank you. Amanda, thank you very much for being on the podcast episode. Adam, thank you once again. And for me, bye for now.
See ya.
Thank you.